Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. It's finally here, the day we've been waiting all year for. It is the finale for my 2023 Pan That Palette. And I've got some good news and I've got some bad news. We got a lot to talk about. So before I talk your ear off, let's go ahead and run for the last time the slideshow of all of my progress up until this point. And here is where we are at the finale. I unfortunately did not hit my goal, but we're going to talk through that because technically this project didn't start with a goal. I made up the goal partway through to hit pan in every single shade. And as you can see, I have 3 shades left. So since the last update, I was actually able to hit pan in the rest of the colorful shades because I thought I would be left with just this shade left. And I focused on it so hard because I wanted to hit pan. I wanted to hit that goal. So I did. I hit pan over here. And then I neglected these shades over here. And unfortunately, even though I was wearing them every day, I just couldn't make it. Okay. So we have a lot to talk through here. First of all, I kind of want to run a clip of me from the intro of this project. So I want this to be my Pan That palette for this year, but I'm going to try to do something different. I don't want to, right now at the beginning of the year, set the usage goal yet. I am someone who has a lot of anxiety, who likes having control, likes controlling, likes organizing, likes cleaning. I like having a plan for everything. So I'm going to challenge myself this year and just say, this is my Pan That palette, and I'm not going to set a specific goal. By that, I mean, I'm not going to say I want to use up all of it, and I'm not going to say I want to hit pan and everything, because I tried doing that in 2020, and I didn't like it. So I'm just going to say, this is my Pan That palette, and we're going to see how that goes. I hope it's good. We shall see. Eventually, the goal is to, as I use up things and as I get into there, solidify my goal towards the end of the year. But I'm gonna try something new, and I don't like it. I feel like I feel not great, like not having a solidified goal. But you know what? Every year, Pan That palette is a challenge for me, which is why I love it so much. And I feel like the best way to start the challenge off this year is a huge palette. I haven't panned a palette with this many shades in it before. By weight, by gram, it's actually very close to the amount of product that is in the Lila palette. So, in theory, I know I've panned this amount of product before, but it has never been this many shades. So that's the first part of the challenge. The second part of the challenge is trying to let go of, like, that anxiety of needing a, like, pinpoint specific goal. So, it's going to be a little nebulous, but I think by working at the beginning of the year, at least, without really having that specific goal in mind, I think it's going to be interesting. So I didn't rewatch that clip until today. Typically the day that I film my finales, I go back and I rewatch the whole playlist of my project for the entire year. And I forgot that, like, my big goal for the beginning of this project was to not have a goal. Because I very quickly, I think in month like 3 or 4, made up a goal and then I was sticking to it. Which kind of went a little counterintuitive to the intention at the beginning. So in that sense, I didn't fail because technically there was no goal. I just wanted to work with one palette for a full year. And I feel like I've definitely done that this year more so than any other year that I've ever had with project panning. But on the other hand, I did eventually set a goal of hitting pan in every shade, and I really wanted to do it. I was so laser focused. Like this year, out of every single year I've done pan that palette, I've spent more time with just this eyeshadow palette than any other palette. Formula of the shades, how many shades there were, and the time constraint, it was closer to like 95% of my time being with just this one palette and 5% with the rest of the palettes I've ever tried in my collection, which was a bit tough at times, especially when like I had other palettes that either I just bought and I really wanted to test them out, and I just didn't have time because this took up so much of my time. I think I heavily underestimated this palette at the beginning of this project. I think I looked at the grams of product in the palette and I thought, psh, this has the same amount of product as a Natasha Denona palette, which I panned already, and this has only a little bit more or less than my 2 and 22 palettes, and I panned those. So I think I got a little too big for my britches when it came to this project, thinking, oh yeah, I could probably pan this. And then it ended up being so much like more difficult than I expected. And I think the browns being left perfectly exemplify that hubris that I had, because I mentioned that in like the 3rd or 4th update. I'll throw the clip in right here. But what I'm realizing is I have pan in every single one that I have pan in, except for this one, it's a shimmer. Because shimmers are a lot easier for me to hit pan in the Morphe formula. What I've noticed is that these 2 shades down here are so like tough. They're tightly packed. So like hitting them, like putting a brush in them is like smacking a rock. They're very densely packed. So I'm worried about like these down here. Maybe not the black one, because I could always use the black in my hairline or in my eyebrows. But these I'm worried about because they're like the most tightly packed mattes in the entire palette. So yeah, I predicted this because these are some of the most dense, solid shades I have ever used. Can I just grab, I'm gonna grab a clean eyeshadow brush and we're gonna, it's basically a rock. It's solid, absolutely solid. And I have used these shades on and off all year. For the last, I want to say 3 weeks, I've used them every day, and they look like I haven't touched them. They are just so solid. And I have no idea if that's just how Morphe originally wanted those shades to be formulated, or if it's because this palette is old. I've had this palette, I think I bought it in the first launch. No, second. The second launch. They did a first launch. It totally sold out. I couldn't get it. The second restock is when I got this. So that's how long I've had this palette for. So I don't know if they're that rock solid because it's so old and maybe it's expired. I don't know. Maybe it's just gone bad. Or if that's how they originally intended to be. But I have never worked with a shadow that tough, that solid. So even though I was using it every day, I was literally using just these 3 shades and then throwing a Stila glitter and glow on my eyes and calling it a day, and I couldn't make a dent in them. So I'm shocked but not really, that I 100% expected to come here and not have hit my goal, but I thought it was going to be these shades. These I was actually able to hit pan on. These I was foiled by 3 brown eyeshadows, and I feel like that's a fun and interesting way to wrap up 2023. But also, I'm trying not to be too hard on myself. I have to admit, part of me was dreading filming this because I have gotten so like bigger and more bombastic with my pan that palettes because I enjoy doing them. And it was always kind of fun to up the ante every year, from doing, 2 palettes to doing the big Natasha Denona palette. Like, I feel like I kind of want to go back to the basics of what pan that palette was when I first started. I've been thinking about this since I did my Back to the Basics tag, Back to the Beauty Basics, I created a few months ago. I'll throw it up in the cards if you're interested. But part of me has been very nostalgic this year for kind of like old school beauty YouTube, and a part of that was also feeling like I wanted to go back to like the origins of pan that palette, where it's just kind of a smaller, more manageable palette, and I use it to completion. Because I feel like I'm getting a little sick of the big palettes. But also I was dreading filming this because I didn't hit, even though technically the whole point of this was not to have a goal, I eventually gave myself a goal and then I did not hit it. And as someone who is very, very competitive with myself, I feel crushed, honestly. Like I really hope I'm not letting anyone down with this update. And my God, I'm not gonna cry. This is a very silly thing to cry about. Please just ignore me. But I worked all year at this, and I feel like even the one other year where I technically didn't finish the palette, I like was able to transform the products. Like I only had a little bit of product left, but then I transformed them into like bronzers and blushes, and at that point it was mostly not the palette anymore, so I could kind of technically still say it was done. Here it's very blatant that I did not hit my goal, and it is a little devastating. So I hope I didn't let you guys down. I hope that I can take the lessons from this past year, because this past year has been pretty wild. I've had a lot of amazing and spectacular things happen this year, and I also had a lot of terrible things happen this year. And I wouldn't change anything for the world, because I'm so happy with where I am now and who I am, but I am so sad that I didn't hit this goal. And I don't want to be dramatic, because I know there's many other things happening in the world that I shouldn't be crying over an eyeshadow palette, but this is like my one big hobby. It's my one big project of the year, and I didn't do it. So I want to keep using the palette because it actually does match pretty well with my 2024 Pan That palette. These 3 shades match pretty nicely with the shades from that palette. So yes, I am going to keep doing Pan That palette. It's my favorite project to do. I love doing the project, learning more about myself, learning more about makeup, and then posting it for you guys to watch. And then the feedback that you guys give in the comments, it pushes me, it keeps me going. And I really, really appreciate each and every one of you for staying along with this journey, even when I don't have the great, you know, progress to show you guys. Though I don't want to like completely beat myself down, because I got this many pans and I was able to get this far. But in the great words of Chester Bennington, I got so far, but in the end, it doesn't even matter. Oof, let's not leave it at that dark of an end point. I didn't hit the goal, but I'm going to keep using the palette until I do. So technically this isn't a finale, it's the finale for the year, but I'm going to post another update video when I finally hit pan in those shadows. I have no idea how long it's going to take, but I'm determined to do it. It's just going to be outside of the scope of the 1 year time limit that I typically set for Pan That palette. So for everyone still watching, thank you. Thank you so much for watching this journey and being with me every step of the way, and for commenting and supporting. I love each and every one of you. So it's not a wrap on this palette. It's a to be continued. Though I'm debating whether or not I should like put this down for like a week or 2 and just use my new palette and then come back to it. We'll see. We'll see how it turns out. I'm kind of sick of this palette. But also, the petty in me wants to finish it. Thank you guys for being here, and I can't wait to see you tomorrow for my 2024 Pan That palette intro. Hope to see you guys there. Bye.